this year we've been looking at, I guess our concept was dream big, and for me that was because I wanted the kids to be able to realise that they've got certain things they've been given, they've got certain values that parents are instilling in them, but at the end of the day it'll be them in the future that's going to make their decisions, and they need to start thinking about now, setting themselves goals, big ones and small ones, and then working towards them, so they get to learn that it's them that influences their decisions and their choices, so they can do anything and not realise that other people might say no, you can't do it, but if they really want it they've just got to work and they can do it. So to do that we through literacy, we followed a Think It Great process into what makes a great dreamer. So they had to look, and we had lots and lots of people who were dreamers, and we were really lucky that at that time there were lots of teenagers that were doing it. So to me that was a better influence for the kids to realise that they're younger adults that are doing it. These kids were 15, 13, 12, and then a couple of people that know 20, so they could see that it wasn't just an adult view. We use these organisers up here, which was a think chart for them basically being able to use their inferential skills. So through my reading program I was able to cover their needs that we gathered from their tests that they've done, but also they cover the content that I needed for our real life learning journey. So it's made a huge difference to their STAR data. They've all had kids go up 2 or 3 stay nines, and I think it's because for them it was an authentic crossover, that they were using their reading skills for their real purpose. Think It Great process, we'd done 35 different dreamers. We were able then to do our Venn diagram where we compared and contrasted the values that we'd gathered from our think chart, and then did a cross classification chart to then do a final test to make sure that we came up with our 6 hardworking, a dreamer, a believer, passionate and dedicated were the 6 that every single dreamer that we looked at, all of them had those 6. The reason why they were doing that is because they then looked at themselves and go, what is it I want them? So most of them have gone for their future, like they want to be a marine biologist or an MBA star, teachers, those kind of things. And they had to look at, well, what of those 6 values, which ones do they hold and which ones do they still need? And then which ones are extra to them? So they wanted to be a lawyer, so they're having to look for different values that they're going to need, and then they've kind of set their journey, have looked at what they need to do. So I've had people contact, like Georgia's contacted Otago University and actually found out what qualifications she's going to need it and what options. They're just almost planning their future, some of them out. Once they finished with the literacy, at the same time we then moved into recounts, because I wanted them to be able to prove that they held that value, and so for me it was them writing a recount about when they'd done that. So then our Think It Great process changed into for recounts, so then we were reading recounts and again following the same thing, what makes an it great recount, again through our reading program. So then it was reading and writing crossing over together. We'd social studies and science. We dipped into science with DNA and genes because I wanted them to realise where they came from. It's a big concept and one that academically is not for this age level, so we did it in a fun way so they can get engagement. So we had Dr. DNA, who was just me dressed up in a pink wig and a doctor suit, who came, and then we did real practical stuff, like we made DNA out of lollies and they used brain pop, and rather than it just being a theory thing, it was just so they just got the concept that DNA is our blueprint and it makes us look like we do, but they have their influence of themselves, what they act like, that's not in their DNA. We did social studies where we looked at our class and looking at if these values, what dreamers have, what do we want to have in our own classroom to make us the way that we can. So then we looked again at the values through the CRIC program, through the quantum sports, so bringing all those different curriculum areas together. And then we brought in our last thread of our inquiry was the decoupage. So I want them to have a visual representation of all the stuff that they've learned to remind them. So that's what you can see around the room. Most of them have gone home now. So we followed a tech process where they looked at designing it and all the different things, and we did all the art behind it, how to create paper, how to do the different colours. So they've had all those skills involved. And then they did their endpoint. But the cool thing is we've had now 2 lots of visitors. And it's been neat listening to them talk about what they've done and it not be scripted or be told by me what to say, but what they've internalised. And most of them now call themselves dreamers, or they'll say dream big, and it's just part of their vocabulary. To them it's a normal word, that when it's not really, it's something that we've just done in our class. So it's been it's been neat that they've internalised it, which is really the big picture was. The art was a byline, not necessarily the most authentic thing to do, but it meant that they could get different skills, but that they've internalised it, and that's, at the end of the day, was the big picture. So it was neat that they've got that. But it was a hard process for me, because the first time I did 3 teaching inquiries to bring them all together, and it took us 2 terms, near enough. But it was good to be able to do it at that speed, that I didn't feel like I had to rush it, because I wanted them to get that quality and to do the process properly. So it worked. Yay. And that, yeah, it's for her, she's got the best place of this.
What is real life learning to you?
Real life learning to me is how I teach. It is an approach, but to me it's just what I do. My classroom, it's how I think about what we're going to do, it's how I make sure that I'm covering for all of my kids. And real life, I haven't been that great at being able to choose the most authentic, amazing journey like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is for the production, but it's real life to my kids because it's their needs and it's what they're needing to learn. That's to me, as yet I haven't been able to grab hold of that really cool authentic thing, but I'd make it as authentic as I can by focusing in on them and them being the focus.
And your biggest kind of ahas or moments that you think you've had in teaching real life learning?
My biggest ahas were when I first started was seeing the depth of what the children got out of it once you followed the process, and their understanding of the concept that you've just given them. So it might be a small thing like how to write a myth, or it could be a big thing about why there are solid liquids and gases, whatever it is, but they've been able to explain it in a lot more depth than I think that if I'd done it in a traditional way.
Okay.
And then my second one is using Lane stuff and actually just following it to what she says to do, and then just the difference that makes, and the thinking that you get out of the kids is much higher than when you try and do it on your own. Using Lane but your own way doesn't work. And to me it's the engagement and the passion of the kids. I don't think if I taught in another way, I guess in what I perceive as more traditional, that you wouldn't get the life that the children have at our school. That to me is the biggest aha, is you aim at the kids, you aim at them, you give them the ownership, you engage them, you get far better learning than you would if you didn't have all of those things behind it.
Got any tips? Because often when we try to start real life learning in our classroom, it kind of seems really overwhelming. Yep. So have you got any tips to anyone new to Gulf Harvest, or what I suggest they had a go at?
Would start with their passion. So if they're passionate about literacy, if they're passionate about maths, they're passionate about science, is start with that. Grab the process that goes with it, or Think It Great one's actually the easiest one to start with, and then just go with that. Do a Think It Great on the thing that you're passionate about, because you'll know the end point. The biggest tip that I've learnt this year is starting with the end and actually writing criteria and actually knowing what it is you're wanting to teach the kids. So I know what to teach them recounts, but I need to go through the process myself of what is a great recount for my year level. And then do the below and the above, and then that then scaffolds you then to be able to do everything else properly, rather than I always used to start with the immersion and go backward and go up, but you end up missing out a lot of stuff, whereas if you start with the end and work towards the beginning, it covers it much easier. But starting with something that you're confident about and what you know about makes it much easier for you to be able to do all that thinking that's involved. Small. Don't try and do 3, just do 1. Choose one process and do it well. Don't worry about anything else. Just do 1 at a time.
I guess that kind of answers that question there as well. And you don't know any different. I was going to ask you the difference between real life learning and normal learning, but you've been here the whole time.
Yeah.
So real life learning is very normal to you.
Yeah, I think if homeschooling is the only thing I can compare it to, was that I guess we didn't have a voice, so you kind of just told what to do, when to do it, where to sit, how to behave, and that was it, and that was accepted, and I did okay in school. But now, from being a teacher, I know differently in terms of that it's okay for the kids to have voices, it's okay for them to be live in the classroom, it's okay for them to be their individuals, and that's actually the most important thing. So I think that's the only difference that I can talk about from my own, but I don't know because I've only taught here. For me, every year gets better. I love the fact that you're allowed to grow and that nobody's expecting you to be perfect straight away. As long as you're on a journey of trying to keep learning and improving, but that's okay.